back, so Jaya Nilo Premadana Karuna Prachu
Jaya Nilo Premadana
Karuna Prachu Rena Prabhu Gota Gela Charyataku Gota Gela Charyataku Kamora Swarupa Kahasanatan Kahadasa Raghunatha Pita Tapava
Kahadasa Raghunatha Pita Tapava
Gahamara Bhatha Yuga Gora Natara Kuti bho mata anale pashivo
Anale kuti bho mata anale pashivo
Gauranga gunera nidhi kota gile pavo Sangira Sanghe Yekoilo Bila
Sangira Sanghe Yekoilo Bila
Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotamoda Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotamoda
Se Sangana Paya Kande Narotamoda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Translation. Song by Narottam Das Thakur, worthy of 4 eyes. So, Parshada Bhagavat Viraha Janita Vilapa, lamentation due to separation from the Lord and his associates. So, he who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Sup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? Where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to attain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So, today is the disappearance day. Jagadish Pandit, right? And Jiva Goswami. Is it Jagadish? It's a Jagadish, I know that. Isn't it?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Okay, and just Jagadish Pandit, I think his appearance day is coming up soon or something also on the calendar. His appearance and disappearance. Is today his appearance or disappearance? Both is, and his appearance day is coming soon. There's a little bit about Jagadish Pandit that in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when Nimai was very, very young, he was very crying, he was very, very hungry on an Ekadasi. And he asked, they went and got the prasad, some rice prasadam from the house of Jagadish Pandit and, was it Hiranya? Not Hiranya, there were 2 of them living together like that. And he ate that prasad. He went there, ate the rice, and then also showed a miracle that he was actually Gopal, that he was actually Krishna. And of course, Jagadish Pandit was in great ecstasy. And it says that he later joined him in Puri, but Lord Chaitanya asked him to return and to preach Krishna consciousness, And there are 2 different identities given. One I forget, the other one I remember, that in Krishna Lila he's one of the Nagapatnis, wives of Kaliya. So, but he had the good fortune of relieving Lord Chaitanya's lamentation and hunger by giving him some prasad on an Ekadasi, like that. So, I'll read from Satyaraj's book, The 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyagau Sri Jiva Gopalako. Om Agyantimirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksulun Minitam Dena Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchika Patrubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, Jiva Goswami, and it's given some dates here, 1513 to 1598. Even though as we'll be reading, there's some disagreement about his actual date of appearance. So Jiva Goswami delineates his genealogy in Laghu Toshani, which is his commentary on Sanatana Goswami's larger work, Vaishnava Toshani. The genealogy is important because it embodies the little information that exists about Rupa, Sanatana, and Jiva's familial background. Jiva Goswami's life and work are emblematic of the Vaishnava way of devotion. He dedicated every moment to his mission of codifying Sri Chaitanya's philosophy for the benefit of mankind. So, a little stop right there, because it says if you don't understand a word, your brain stops also. So, Dravida Prabhu, what does it mean, codifying the philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
The word is codifying.
Codifying, excuse me.
And it means to put it into a very systematic form, so for easy understanding.
Okay. So it says here that he, every moment of his mission, like that, he dedicated for the benefit of mankind. To this end, he organized the movement begun by the 5 senior Goswamis. Consequently, Jiva Goswami is known as the most systematic preacher among the 6 Goswamis and has at times been called the greatest philosopher in all of Indian history. In fact, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, has commented that, quote, the Vaishnavas are by far the greatest philosophers in the world, and the greatest among them was Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhu, unquote. Jiva was the youngest and most prolific writer among the 6 Goswamis. In addition, he was the last among them to reach Vrindavan. And consequently, he was not mentioned in any of the earlier biographies of Sri Chaitanya. Jiva is, however, glorified in several verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, but even there it is usually in connection with the other 5 Goswamis. The little that is known about Sri Jiva comes primarily from Bhakti Ratnakara, which has been quoted throughout his work, this work, and another earlier book, although also from the 17th century, called Prema Vilas. This latter work was written by Nityananda Das, a student of Nityananda Prabhu's wife Janavadevi, and is therefore accepted by Chaitanyite Vaishnavas as an authoritative source. Some biographical information concerning Jiva Goswami is scanty. Much debate has arisen regarding details. For example, some scholars deny that 1513 was the year in which Sri Jiva was born. For Sri Chaitanya met Rupa Sanatan and Anupama, Jiva's father and the younger brother of Rupa Sanatan, later that same year in Ramakeli. This presents a problem because, according to Bhakti Ratnakara, Jiva too was in Ramakeli at this time, and although he was only a child, he was old enough to get there by himself and witness the loving interaction between his uncles, his father, and Sri Chaitanya. How then could Jiva have been born that same year? The only possible conclusion is that either the date of Jiva's birth is merely an approximation, which has already been admitted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or that Jiva was an infant of miraculous capabilities. As with the other Goswamis, Jiva's ontological position is special. He was considered an incarnation of the gopi known as Vilas Manjari. So, supernatural occurrences are not beyond the realm of possibility. Okay. Whatever the answer, as Jiva Goswami grew in years, he gradually developed all the bodily symptoms of a Mahapurush, or an empowered divinity. Scriptural descriptions of such souls include elongated lotus-like eyes. Look around the room, does anyone? Okay. High nose and forehead, large shoulders and chest, hands reaching to his knees, an effulgence that appears like molten gold. How's the effulgence doing? You working on that one? Okay. An effulgence that appears like molten gold and other specific features. Bhakti Ratnakara says that Jiva Goswami was not devoid of any of these bodily symptoms. In addition, he was a prodigy, mastering at a young age such subjects as grammar, poetry, logic, and scriptural hermeneutics. Do you want to give us a Dravida Prabhu? What's your understanding of hermeneutics? Scriptural hermeneutics.
Hermeneutics is the study of scripture and trying to interpret and understand what it means.
Yeah.
It's an important word for us.
Yeah. Because there is that class of people, and sometimes fanatical, that they go, everything it says in the scriptures you have to accept as absolute truth without any understanding historical references or this or that, and it gets a little bit difficult for people when that happens. That may no longer be applicable. As described in chapter 3, Sri Chaitanya had first met Rupa and Anupama in Ramakeli and had a second encounter that took place soon thereafter in Allahabad. This was to be the last time that Anupama would see the master in this incarnation. For that very next year in 1514, while traveling through Bengal on the way to Puri, Anupama passed away on the banks of the Ganges. This devastating event had a tremendous effect on Jiva Goswami, who, although only a child at the time, resolved to renounce the world and its cruelties. Does this sound familiar? Can anyone think of it? Lord Buddha? Anyone else? Dhruva Maharaj? Yeah, but as far as the death of parents and so on. Yes, Narada Muni. He just left. 5-year-old boy. Father, yes. And Rupa and Sanatana are his uncles. Thus, with a burning passion for spiritual enlightenment, Sri Jiva studied the scriptures as he grew into his teens. At this time, he began to worship of Krishna Balaram, the deity forms of Krishna and his elder brother. Sri Jiva saw Krishna and Balaram as non-different from Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu. This period in Jiva's life and the scenario that followed are summarized by the author and Sanskrit scholar, Stuart Elkman. Quote, with his father dead and his 2 uncles now settled in Vrindavan, Jiva reportedly lost all interest in worldly pursuits, hoping only to join his 2 uncles in Vrindavan one day. By the time he had reached the age of 20, his mother was also dead. And he resolved to lead the life of a Vaishnava recluse in the company of Rupa and Sanatan. Before heading for Vrindavan, Jiva first visited the town of Navadvip in Mayapur, where he was met by Nityananda and taken to all the places associated with Chaitanya's youth. At the bidding of Nityananda, Jiva proceeded to Benares to complete his studies in Sanskrit learning. Unquote. Interesting details of Jiva Goswami's trip to Navadvip are found in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. From the earliest age, Jiva desired to visit Sri Chaitanya's birthplace. Jiva's mother did not want her only son to travel and lead the austere life of a renunciate. Does that sound familiar? Yes. Maybe your own mom. Right? Nonetheless, Jiva conceived of a ruse by which he proposed that he would go on a short trip to his ancestral home of Fatehabad. His mother agreed, and Jiva arranged for the boatman who was supposed to take him to Fatehabad to take him instead to Navadvip. So did he lie to his mom? Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. He says no. He says, yeah, okay. When you become advanced, you'll know it's okay. Once in Navadvip, Sri Jiva met Nityananda Prabhu, as noted by Stuart Elkman. Jiva immediately recognized Nityananda as non-different from his Balaram deity. Quote, you are the form of the universe, Jiva told Nityananda. You are Balaram. In fact, you are so infinite that I cannot properly describe your qualities. One thing I know for certain is that you are my eternal master, and I am your eternal servant. My only aspiration is the shade of your lotus feet. That person to whom you give mercy easily gets the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya and drowns in the water of love of God. Without your mercy, no one can get Sri Chaitanya, even if he worships him for 100 lifetimes. I therefore pray for your merciful glance. So that's what he said when he met Nityananda Prabhu. After glorifying Nityananda Prabhu in this way, Sri Jiva was taken by Nityananda himself on a complete tour of Navadvip. First they went to Sri Chaitanya's birthplace, then they visited the famous house of Srivas Thakur, where blissful nocturnal kirtans were once held. There they actually met Srivas, who took them to Sachi's house. Sachi Devi and Vishnupriya, Sri Chaitanya's widow, then cooked prasadam for them. Next, Vamsi Vadana, Sachi's servant, accompanied them to the temple of Jagannath Mishra, where Sri Chaitanya's father had worshipped the family deity of Lakshmi Narayan. In this way, Jiva Goswami saw all the 9 islands of Navadvip. After their tour of the holy Dham, Nityananda Prabhu told Sri Jiva to go to Vrindavan by way of Benares. The reason for passing through Benares was to locate Madhusudana Vishchashpati, an important disciple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, to take lessons from him. Vishchashpati was to become Jiva Goswami's mentor. Arriving in Benares, Jiva Goswami quickly found Madhusudana Vishchashpati. Imagine how difficult sometimes it was to find people back then. You couldn't look them up on your phone, right? Do a search, ask Google, hey, where is so-and-so? It's a big city. Well, you just have to ask around. And he accepted his tutelage. In a relatively short time, Sri Jiva became particularly well versed in all aspects of Vedanta philosophy, and he developed a reputation as an eminent scholar, having written Sarvagang Vadini, wherein he refers to such divergent Vedanta Sutra commentators as Madhva, Ramanuja, Shankara, and Vishchashpati. He became known as a thorough and well-rounded authority on all branches of learning. To this day, Benares Hindi University honors Jiva by dedicating an entire department to the study of his works. Once Sri Jiva had established himself in Benares, he recalled the instructions of Nityananda Prabhu. What was that instruction? Go to Vrindavan. While in Navadvip, Nityananda Prabhu had told him, go soon to Vrindavan. That place has been awarded to your family, to your father and uncles by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and therefore you must go there immediately. This recollection, coupled with a burning desire to assist Rupa and Sanatan, influenced him to leave Benares and start for Vrindavan. Krishnadas Kaviraj, author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, confirms that by the time Jiva Goswami was 20 years old, he had gone to Vrindavan and fulfilled the mandate given to him by Nityananda Prabhu. 20 years old. How old are you? What are you waiting for? Other than Jiva Goswami's massive literary contribution, it is said that he compiled not less than 400,000 Sanskrit verses. Not much is known about his stay in Vrindavan. According to Bhakti Ratnakara, the following devotees, among others, were there when Jiva first arrived. They greeted him with love and friendship. The other 5 Goswamis, Prabhananda Saraswati, Kashishvara Pandit, and Krishnadas Kaviraj, Rupa and Sanatan were overjoyed to see their illustrious nephew associating with the Vrindavan devotees. Soon after arriving in Krishna's holy land, Sri Jiva approached Sanatan, his eldest uncle, for initiation into the Chaitanyite Vaishnav line. But, out of humility, Sanatan deferred the responsibility of initiating Jiva to Rupa Goswami. Before Rupa Goswami initiated Sri Jiva, however, he decided to test his mettle. You know what that means, test his mettle? Yeah, it's determination, pressure. Does that ever happen to you here? Okay, daily? Okay, to this end, Rupa gave Jiva menial service to perform. He had Jiva prepare articles for deity worship, beg alms, prepare food, research text, massage his feet, and prepare palm leaves for his writing. Highly pleased with Jiva Goswami's sense of selfless service, Sri Rupa formally initiated him into the Chaitanyite Vaishnavism. Some months passed. Okay, here's the story. Maybe if we have time, we'll come back to it. A traveling scholar named Rupa Narayan Saraswati came to Vrindavan. Now, this Rupa Narayan Saraswati also appears in the pastimes of Narottam Das Thakur. There's one king there and scholars that were very, very upset that Narottam Das Thakur was initiating. He himself was not from a Brahmin family, and he was initiating all these non-Brahmins and so on. So they wanted to challenge him. So they set off on a big, big procession to go and defeat Narottam and kick him out, like that. But before they left the palace, this Rupa Narayan Saraswati was there, as well, if not the, but one of the court scholars. And he explained that this had happened to him before, and not to go. Don't waste your time. It would be a great mistake going and offending the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he appears again. So he was well known as one of the most learned men in the country, and it is said that he could not be defeated in philosophical debate. Can't be done. In fact, he was called Digvijayi, which means that person who has conquered everyone in all directions. His pride, however, was as vast as his learning. And as he went from village to village in order to wrangle with local scholars, he demanded a Jayapatra, or a certificate of victory, from his opponents. You beat me, and you sign your name. There you go. There's a big filing cabinet full of Jayapatras. By this time, Rupa and Sanatan were well known all over northern India as the greatest of all scholars. And Rupa Narayan's usual arrogance, he rudely challenged the two famous brothers to a debate. Do you want a debate? You two brothers, do you want a debate? Okay. When Rupa and Sanatan declined, the proud Rupa Narayan said, "You are obviously frauds. If you were as learned as people say you are, you would both accept my challenge." With great humility, Rupa and Sanatan said that their reputation was exaggerated by well-wishers and that they were in fact not fit to debate such a learned and undefeatable individual. Rupa Narayan was greatly pleased to hear this. Immediately thinking of his reputation, he asked for his usual Jayapatra so he could show others that he had defeated Rupa and Sanatan. Without hesitation, the two brothers signed such a certificate and sent him on his way. So he's completely clueless. Due to pride, completely clueless. Excuse me. Blinded by vanity, Rupa Narayan felt that he was now the greatest scholar of all time. He completely
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Jai. Haribol. That's a very blissful ringtone. Send it my way. Blinded by vanity, Rupa Narayan felt that he was now the greatest scholar of all time. He completely neglected the fact that he had defeated Rupa and Sanatan only by default, and that it was their sheer humility that allowed him easy victory. Moreover, Rupa Narayan soon heard that Rupa and Sanatan had a young nephew who was quickly developing a reputation that was equal to theirs. Rupa Narayan knew that if he really wanted to establish himself as the greatest of all scholars, he would have to defeat young Jiva as well. Approaching Jiva Goswami, Rupa Narayan presented his letter stating that he had defeated Rupa and Sanatan. Jiva was incensed. How could his teachers, Rupa and Sanatan, who were intimate associates of the Lord, be defeated by an ordinary scholar or even by the greatest of scholars? Rupa Narayan demanded that Jiva enter debate with him. For once he defeated Jiva, he said his reputation would be unequaled. As Jiva listened to the distasteful boasting of Rupa Narayan, he felt an intense urge to silence him once and for all. Jiva's youth got the better of him. Although his uncles avoided wasting valuable time in some mundane debate, Jiva accepted the challenge. So what got the better of him? His youth. What does that mean? Do you know? Passionate. Inexperience. Like that. Those are symptoms of youth. Like that. Did you ever experience that being youthful? A little passion. Huh? Hey, how about those Geewicks? How's your memory? Okay. Young Jiva spent 7 days on the banks of the Jamuna trying to vindicate the reputation of his uncles. On the final day, the contest of scholarship was complete. Jiva had won the debate. After this, Rupa Narayan went away in great shame and was never seen again in Vrindavan. Now, isn't there some account of this? Some account with the scholar, that the scholar almost was almost like practically dead had lost even his life heirs practically. Was that this debate or some other debate?
Thinking of some debates with
Okay.
Same thing would happen.
It's like,
He would talk. One guy became incontinent. Incontinence.
passage, stool and urine. Okay, so just kind of like knock the wind out of them. Okay. After this, Rupa Narayan went away in great shame and was never seen again in Vrindavan. Jiva, on the other hand, was anxious to share his conquest with Rupa and Sanatan. He was especially excited to tell the good news to Rupa, his guru. When he approached Rupa, however, he was severely chastised. Quote, "You have prematurely taken to the renounced order of life," Rupa told him, "and consequently you are not able to conquer your anger and sense of pride. No one who rejoices in humiliating others or who asserts his own worth is fit to live in Vrindavan. You are hereby banished and you should leave immediately." Now that's pretty intense. Severely humbled, Jiva bowed to his master and quickly left Vrindavan for neighboring Mathura. He took Rupa Goswami's harsh words to heart and practiced great austerities in an attempt to atone for his misconduct. It is said that he lived in the hollow of a tree. I think you guys have it rough upstairs. Can you imagine you had to move out and live in a hollow of one of the trees out here? He lived in a hollow of a tree. Ate simple food and only once a day, and took a vow of silence that was to last for 1 solid year. Do you think you could do that? Not talk for a year? I don't think you could do that. Okay. In a hollow of a tree somewhere. Okay. This exile might have lasted even longer, but it was cut short by the mercy of Sanatana Goswami. When Sanatana discovered what had happened to Jiva, he immediately went to Rupa and told him that he was neglecting to follow one of Sri Chaitanya's cardinal teachings. Rupa said, "What? Which teaching am I not following? Please tell me." To this, Sanatana said, "You recite the teachings of our master. When you get to the one in question, I will let you know." As Rupa patiently recited all of Sri Chaitanya's precepts, he finally came to Jiva Doi, which means kindness to all living beings. Doi means kindness and Jiva means living beings. Jiva, however, is also the name of Jiva Goswami. Realizing the import of Sanatana's curious pun, Rupa laughed heartily and decided to be kind to Jiva. In this way, Rupa rescinded his banishment. Critics of Jiva Goswami foolishly point to this episode in Jiva's life in their attempts to show that he had acted improperly. Chaitanyite Vaishnavas, however, understand that Jiva was merely playing a part in order to instruct others about the pitfalls of mundane scholarship. Critics say that Jiva should have been more humble, and if he were, he would have never been banished by Rupa Goswami. Such critics neglect the fact that if Jiva had not debated with the arrogant scholar, Vaishnavism would have fallen into ill repute, for the mass of people would have continued to believe that Rupa and Sanatana had been defeated by Rupa Narayan. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, comments in this connection. The critics of Jiva Goswami do not know that humility and meekness are appropriate when one's own honor is insulted, but when Lord Vishnu or the Acharyas are blasphemed, one should not be humble and meek, but must act. One should follow the example given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya says in his prayer, one can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking himself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tall than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Nevertheless, when the Lord was informed that Nityananda Prabhu was injured by Jaga and Madha, he immediately went to the spot, angry like fire, wanting to kill them. Thus Lord Chaitanya has explained his verse by the example of his own behavior. One should tolerate insults against oneself, but when there is blasphemy committed against superiors such as older or other Vaishnavas, one should be neither meek or humble. One must take proper steps to counteract such blasphemy. Unquote. There are two other stories. Let me skip these. I had to do a Parakiya Ras and Swakiya Ras. Okay. It's amazing. But here it says, these unfounded criticisms leveled against Jiva Goswami have long been laid to rest by stalwart authorities and scholars of Gaudiya Vaishnavism such as Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In fact, historians now consider Jiva Goswami to be one of the most important teachers of Chaitanyite theology, and they attribute to him the preservation of the tradition. Through his impassioned preaching spirit, he served the dual purpose of carrying on the Goswami mission of codifying Sri Chaitanya's teachings and enlivening others to take up the banner of the Sankirtan movement. You know, in every religious movement, that's always there. After Buddha left, they had to have those meetings to try to, you know, what did he actually say, and to codify everything. And when Jesus, you know, after he disappeared, it took quite some time, but they had the different councils and so on, which books of the Bible were going to be accepted. There are many, many books of the Bible, but they chose particular ones. Yeah. So, trying to preserve the tradition, because the universal tendency or phenomena is that there used to get all these splinter groups going off. Well, the master said this, the master said that, like that, and all these different things. So it's extremely important that everything is preserved. And we're very, very fortunate in this day and age with Srila Prabhupada that you have all the different recordings and videos and books and so on and so on. There's so much there. Can you imagine if nothing was written down until 200 years after Prabhupada passed away? Whew! I guess it gets worse and worse as Kali Yuga goes on too, right? The internet speeds everything up like that. So, this has been noted by Amaranath Chatterjee, professor of history at the University of Delhi. Among the 6 Goswamis, Jiva alone can be regarded as a systematic preacher. It was he who planned the work of propagation in Bengal and Orissa in the post-Chaitanya Nityananda period. Consequently, he trained Srinivas, Narottam, and Shaimananda in the basic tenets of the faith, entrusted them with preaching work, and directed them finally to proceed to the eastern provinces with the Vaishnava literature. So he was the first Sankirtan leader. He sent them out on Sankirtan. So Jiva's fame spread all over India. As a result, Emperor Akbar, most tolerant of the Mughal rulers, traveled to Vrindavan in the year 1570 just to have an exclusive audience with the Goswami. It is said that Akbar was moved beyond words and that he began to patronize the work of the Goswamis. While there are scholars who question the authenticity of this event, Akbar's enthusiastic patronage of the Goswamis is explained by prominent historian F.S. Grouse. Quote, Akbar the Great, as he is known, was taken blindfolded into the garden called Nindaban. There, such a marvelous vision was revealed to him that he was fain to acknowledge the place was indeed pious ground. Hence, the cordial support which he gave the attendant Rajas, Goswamis, when they expressed their wish to erect a series of buildings worthy of the local deity. It is therefore concluded that Akbar's visit played a central role in the development of Vrindavan in those formative years. Having had a genuine spiritual experience by the grace of Jiva Goswami, the great emperor directed his men to commence construction of the 4 original temples of Vrindavan. Okay, let's see if you can guess. What's one of them? Madan Mohan, Govinda Dev, Gopinath, and Yugala Kishore. Those are the 4 original ones. It is said that at this time Jiva Goswami met many other notable personalities, such as the poetess Mirabai. But there's little reliable information concerning those meetings. Nonetheless, much is known about Jiva Goswami's construction of the Radha Damodar temple, one of the most important developments to occur during his stay in Vrindavan. When land was purchased by a wealthy servant of Akbar named Alisha Chaudhary, for the express purpose of assisting Sri Jiva in the spreading of Vaishnavism, the Goswami naturally took this opportunity to properly worship a set of Radha Krishna deities that were given to him by Rupa Goswami. And so Jiva supervised the building of the Radha Damodar Mandir, one of the classic temples of Vrindavan. In the courtyard of this temple there are rooms that have traditionally been rented to holy men as they come to honor Jiva Goswami's temple, a tribute to Radha Damodar. On the eastern side of the temple grounds, there is a room where His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada resided for 6 years before leaving India to sail to the United States in 1965. While in this room, Srila Prabhupada produced the first 3 volumes of his translation and commentary on srimadbhagavatam with the inspiration of Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami, whose tomb is in the same courtyard. Srila Prabhupada planned his strategy for forming the International Society for Krishna Consciousness when he utilized to spread the teachings and practice of Chaitanyite Vaishnavism all over the world. It is said that the 6 Goswamis too used to meet at the Radha Damodar temple and plan the propagation of Krishna consciousness. I remember going there the first time. They showed you some hall, kind of in the part. I don't know if it's part of the parikam. That's where they used to sit and meet. 6 of them would meet and discuss. To facilitate this planning, Jiva Goswami, with men given to him by Akbar, masterminded the construction of a Granth Bandara, or a library, where he could store all the handwritten copies of the Granth scriptures and the books of Rupa and Sanatan and the other Goswamis. Jiva's eagerness to preserve these valuable books can be seen in his Sankalpa Patra, or his last will and testament. Preservation of the tradition by literary achievement became Jiva's most important contribution to Chaitanyite Vaishnavism. Scholars today marvel at Jiva Goswami's massive output of theological literature. Jiva's accomplishment in this regard has been noted by author and historian Sushil Kumar Dey. Jiva Goswamin was a prolific, versatile, and voluminous writer, and it is difficult to give a complete list of his works. The enumeration of Krishnadas Kaviraj and the Madhya Lila and Ancha Lila is very brief, but the Bhakti Ratnakara cites some traditional Sanskrit verses which assign more than 20 different works to Jiva. Most of his works, however, are commentaries, abstracts, or supplements elucidating the learned treatise of his uncles, who found in him a very apt and learned interpreter. So he gives a list here of about 25 different books. All of these books are very important. Some are considered particularly noteworthy. For example, Jiva Goswami's grammar entitled Hari Namamrita Vyakarana is considered to have an almost mystical effect on its readers. His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada has commented that if one studies this work, one can learn the rules of Sanskrit grammar and simultaneously become a great devotee of Krishna. Even surpassing his grammar in importance, however, are Jiva Goswami's more intensely theological works. His Radha Krishnarchana Deepaka, for example, is a masterful composition that gives details about worshipping Radha and Krishna together. This is a significant contribution to the Chaitanyite Sampradaya. So too is Jiva Goswami's Gopal Champu, which is divided into 2 parts. The first part, Purva, consists of 33 chapters that elaborately describe Krishna's activities in Vrindavan. The second part, Uttara, consists of 37 chapters describing the Lord's activities in Mathura and Dwarka. In its entirety, Gopal Champu is a great epic discussing the gamut of Krishna's activities in his original manifestation. It is written in elaborate poetic style with profound devotion. Also significant is the Krama Sandarbha, often described as the 7th of the 6 Sandarbhas. It is Jiva's elaborate commentary on all 12 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Most important, however, are the Shat Sandarbhas, 6 Sandarbhas themselves. A summary of their overwhelmingly thorough contents is given by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Now it's 8:35.
Okay. I have one thing to add.
So we'll maybe add some things. Because here it ends by just talking about what's in the different sandarbhas. So maybe we can just open it up for different comments and other stories of Jiva Goswami and revelations and so on.
I don't have a comment or a story, but I have Hare Krishna. Ooh, I have a song. One of the songs from the Gopal Champu. You can just get a taste of his incredible Sanskrit prowess here. I don't know the raga, but the meter is built in. This is a song that's just describing how Mother Yashoda would pamper Krishna and Balaram after they came back from killing Dhenukasura. No, I'm sorry. This is this one. Hadina hadinas hatapudalina vajani mukamana janani ladatamitikadetam jitikalina. That's the refrain. After the face of night had appeared, meaning the evening time had come, Mother Yashoda affectionately served Krishna, the conqueror of sin, and Balaram, the crusher of enemies. How did she do so? Nirmanchana. Now this is something from the altar, you know, Nirmanchana. Nirmanchana nirajana marjana vadana lokana rachanam. Mardana magdana sambastradana pastad pundaga sajanam. She performed Nirmanchana. Nirmanchana, I researched it. It means the preparatory work before you do a puja, getting all the argi and everything together. She did a little arti for them. She performed Nirmanchana and then arti for Krishna Balaram. She washed them, looked at their faces, massaged, bathed, and dressed them. And afterwards she decorated them with tilak. And then you have the refrain. Then she fed them. Next verse. Vachasahi yojana bojana purdana sudapita niras vadanam. Agadu dravayuta atatambu las vadanam sukasam vadanam. She fed them sumptuously up to the neck with a delicious meal of many varieties of foods and gave them scented water to drink. She anointed them with the Guru, gave them betel nuts, and happily conversed with them. And finally, Sukadijanam patishaya samskriti samanu gyamana shayanam. She ordered her servants to make the arrangements for sleeping. And she very happily put them and their Gopa friends to bed. So what happened is that while she's doing all this, Krishna's leading Gopa friends are looking in, you know, and then she invites them in, does the same services for them, and then they have a sleepover and they all sleep together. That's just one little song from the Gopal Champu. By the way, Gopal Champu, I can give you, because I have the translation that Kucha Prabhu produced. And the Santarbas, there we have two versions, Tattva Santarbas, Gopal Brahma Guru, and also the Sadi Ryan. And the other Santarbas that have been translated by Thomas, I think it's
Now the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, are they doing all of them? The whole, who produced those?
They were.
Right.
Gopi did two, and I think the second one has been in production for some time. But I'm not sure. I don't think there's a translator working on the other four. You know, because they've already been done by Bhagwan Swami.
Okay.
Like that. But what we are doing, and this is David Maharaj's project, is taking Bhagwan Swami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and going through it and with BBT editors and adding indexes and everything and make it into a and with Bhagwan Swami's participation. So that's going to be a nice project when it comes out maybe in a few months. In other words, but what they're not doing, because it would be too large to put synonyms in, which I kind of disappointed. But to go over all the verses and everything, and the indexes are very important. That's coming out.
Yes, Balaram, you have something to say?
I was just thinking, because it's a side point. You were mentioning how Buddha and different religious leaders, you know, after the leader leaves, the followers would get together and try to figure out what exactly he was meaning and put together books and so on, and just kind of get an idea of what to do. So, different devotees have brought this up about Prabhupada or brought this up about different religious groups or leaders, is that the problem, I could say, maybe it could be seen as a problem, is that the religious leaders actually didn't say that much in comparison to Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada I mean, people have a hard time going through everything Prabhupada said. Even followers, the whole Bhagavatam, all of Prabhupada's books, his lectures, his morning walks, conversations, letters. It's a lot to go through. And then you have all these remembrances from all of his disciples. I mean, it's a lot of... So what to speak of... I mean, followers sometimes have a hard time what to speak of scholars. I mean, sometimes, you know. So to get a good idea of what exactly, you know, Prabhupada was trying to communicate is not... you know, we're grateful. It's actually wonderful because he said so much versus some others who didn't say actually that much. So, anyways, it's just a comment.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point that Prabhupada didn't leave it to his followers or many generations in the future. Prabhupada established everything by all his translations and his speaking. So there's no mystery as far as what the Krishna consciousness movement is and our history and our philosophy and our purpose. It's all there.
Yeah,
But
I was just
human nature.
But it's interesting, the Ritvik theory. You know, people say, "Oh, this is, you know, really important." Well, Prabhupada never. I mean, because if Prabhupada really wanted devotees to do that, he would make it very clear. You know, this whole thing that they come up with. Anyways, one devotees tell me that there's quite a big influence up by ISV of Ritvik people. Yeah, it's still going and it's going strong. They're building a huge temple up there, huge, and they have they have acres of land. They have cows and everything. So the devotees say that when they go out on Sankirtan, people ask them, "Oh, is this like whatever this mandir?" They say it, and they have to say, "No, we're ISKCON." So it's like a bit of a challenge, you know. And that's what they're doing. Madhu Pandit and others, they're taking money from India and other places and building this big temple. So some devotee came here and I was talking to him and I said, "Oh, is there some Prabhupada disciples up there? Like, you know?"
lots of them.
And then he said, "Well, it's Madhu Pandit and it's, you know, it's this devotee and that devotee," and that's what I said, which River said. And then I said, "Oh, well, now that I think about it, there's lots of Prabhupada disciples up there. They're all Prabhupada disciples, you know." But I was talking about, you know, direct, like, but the joke was they're all Prabhupada disciples.
Yes.
Anyways.
And of course, part of the whole thing is the changes in the books, because that they made an issue out of that. Speaking from the inside of that controversy, I can say that our real mission is to reveal what Prabhupada actually meant, which is not always obvious because of editing mistakes, transcribing mistakes, and so forth. Like the example I gave, we did this myself and Maharaj put together the Jayavada Swami in 1997. This responsible publishing, we put in some examples. If you've read that, you've seen them. But one of my favorites that always sticks out in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which you have to remember was done at a super fast rate. And, you know, that in those days they had to retype everything. You didn't have, you know, the word processing power you have now. So in the process of doing that, sometimes the typist would skip a line. And in skipping a line, would often be caught by the proofreader because it didn't make sense. But sometimes it didn't make sense and the line would be left out. So in the chapter 19 of the Madhya Lila, which is the teachings to Rupa Goswami, Prabhupada's talking about the importance of association and sticking within the society. So he has this one line, which in 1975, when it was printed, it read like this. And it stayed like that for 20 years. Even if one thinks that there are no, or one says, if one thinks that there are no pure devotees in the Hare Krishna movement, meaning ISKCON, one can keep direct company with the spiritual master. And if he still has any doubts, he can travel to the spiritual master, something like that. But what Prabhupada said, and we have the transcript, is that, and you have to add the word even at the beginning, even if one thinks that there are no pure devotees in the Hare Krishna movement, still one should stick to the society. And when we put that in, we still get letters where people say, "Oh, yeah, you changed the books, you know, at the behest of the GBC to try to get people to stay within the society." But that's what Prabhupada said. Now, who could, and that had to be, put it back in there, since it's a very important instruction of Prabhupada. So these are some of the more dramatic ones. There's a bunch of them like that, and that are literal restorations of things that were left out. Bhagavad Gita, 926, Patram Pusham Pulam Toyam, the whole first paragraph is missing. So it's still ongoing. We've done a lot of work, but we're working on the Bhagavatam now, and Hayagriva retyped the whole second canon when he left out a whole verse in purport, and that had to be restored and stuff like that. So that's exactly that kind of work is still being done, and it's people who don't understand what's going on, they make a big deal out of it. Oh, you're deviating, you're creating another movement.
I just heard a story. Hari Prabhu was relating a story about an editing problem in the Easy Journey to Other Planets, which Prabhupada wrote back in the 50s or something, right? And that Hayagriva had taken something out. What Hayagriva had taken out was the fact that Prabhupada said we don't go to these other planets. We can't go to these other planets. And he thought, and he thought, I can't leave that in there. So he actually took it out. So it was like 1975 or something. Vrindavan, Prabhupada turned to Harisari and said, read this from the Hawaii? Because Hayagriva was there at the time, so I thought maybe it was Vrindavan who was there. And he started reading it, and Prabhupada noted that, wait a second, something was missing. And then he said, oh, Hayagriva's here. So Prabhupada called Hayagriva and asked him what, and he pointed out, he just took it out. Because Prabhupada, I didn't think anyone, people won't believe that. So he said, you put it back in. So he just, out of his own volition, he just edited Prabhupada's words right out of a book.
1021 in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada didn't notice that. There's a symbolism about the moon, Nakshatra, Shashi, of stars there on the moon.
Right.
Nakshatra can mean heavenly bodies, it could mean stars, it could mean stars. And so Prabhupada said, oh, and this proves, this whole paragraph there, that all those stars up there are reflecting the light of our one sun, just like the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And Heidegger said, oh, he must have rolled his eyes when he read that. His motive was to try to protect, but he did, it was actually offensive. He took it out and was restored, in 1983. So those who complain about the changes in the books, this is probably truly furious. I mean, actually what happened, if you read it's in Transcendental Diary, this whole thing about
Mm-hmm.
Prabhupada became very angry at Hayagriva, and finally Hayagriva surrendered, he was crying and everything. And Prabhupada said, oh, I can't trust you. He said that. You read the passage. And Harisari was also getting on Hayagriva's case about it. Because he had overstepped, his commission as an editor. And I think it goes back to the early days when there was a much easier relationship with Prabhupada as well. He kind of didn't, tighten up his whole editing mood as he moved forward. And he had to be taken on. He was taken on the project in 75, the marathon. He was there, but he had long hair, wasn't attending the program. And in LA at that time, everyone was very strict and everyone was disturbed. But he was taken off, and that's how I got the editor job. Because I needed another editor. Time pressure.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai.